The grand convocation hall stretched so far that its ceiling disappeared into artificial clouds. Hyunwoo had never seen anything like it in his entire life. He stood near the service entrance, clutching his toolkit, trying not to stare at the thousands of alien dignitaries filling the massive space. Some had scales that shimmered like oil on water. Others floated in containment fields filled with purple gas. A few looked almost human, except for their extra arms or the way their eyes glowed in the dim light. This was the biggest day in galactic history, and Hyunwoo was here to fix a broken air filter. He checked his work tablet again. The message was clear. Ventilation unit malfunctioned near the central platform. He sighed and started walking, keeping his head down. Nobody paid attention to maintenance workers. That was fine with him. The less attention, the better. At the center of the hall stood the celestial scanner. Hyunwoo had seen pictures of it during the mandatory orientation, but pictures did not do it justice. The obelisk rose 30 feet high, made of crystal that seemed to contain galaxies inside. It pulsed with soft blue light, and the air around it hummed with power that made his teeth ache. Every 100 years, the scanner chose the next ruler of the Galactic Consortium. Nobody knew how it worked. The technology came from the first civilization, a species that vanished millions of years ago. They left behind only ruins and a handful of working machines, including this one. For 10,000 years, the scanner had never failed to select a worthy leader. Today, it was failing. Hyunwoo could feel the tension in the room as he made his way through the crowd. He had been watching the ceremony on his tablet before the work order came through. Candidate after candidate had approached the scanner. Princes and princesses from the oldest royal families in the galaxy. Each one stepped up to the obelisk, placed their hand on its surface, and waited. The scanner would flicker. Ancient symbols would appear briefly on its surface. Then nothing. No acceptance. No coronation. Just silence. The crowd grew more restless with each rejection. Hyunwoo could hear angry whispers in a dozen languages. Some people were arguing. Others looked scared. The consortium had existed for thousands of years, stable and unified under the scanner's chosen leaders. What happened if the scanner could not choose anyone? A tall alien with purple skin and 4 arms was speaking into a floating microphone. Hyunwoo's translator earpiece rendered the words into Korean. The 87th candidate will now approach. Princess Daeun of the Hanul sovereignty. Hyunwoo stopped walking. A human candidate? He watched as a young woman in elaborate robes stepped forward. She was Korean, like him, though her clothes and bearing screamed royalty. The Hanul sovereignty was one of the human factions that had joined the consortium 30 years ago. They claimed descent from some ancient dynasty. Hyunwoo had never paid much attention to politics. Daeun placed her hand on the scanner. The crystal pulsed brightly. Symbols cascaded across its surface, more than Hyunwoo had seen with any previous candidate. The crowd leaned forward. This was it. Humanity's first ruler of the consortium. Then the symbols faded. The light dimmed. Nothing. Daeun's face remained perfectly composed, but Hyunwoo saw her hand tremble as she withdrew it. She bowed to the scanner and walked back to her delegation. The crowd erupted in confused chatter. Hyunwoo shook his head and kept walking. He had a job to do. The ventilation unit was somewhere behind the scanner platform. He circled around the edge of the central area, trying to stay out of sight. His supervisor would kill him if he interrupted the ceremony. The ventilation unit was right where the schematic said it would be, tucked behind a decorative pillar. Hyunwoo knelt down and opened his toolkit. The problem was obvious once he got the panel off. A burnt-out regulator. He could fix this in 5 minutes. He was reaching for his replacement parts when a voice boomed through the hall. We will take a brief recess. The High Council must consult with the scanner's guardians. Perfect. Hyunwoo could finish the repair without worrying about getting in anyone's way. He pulled out the damaged regulator and started installing the new one. His hands moved automatically. He had done this same repair 100 times on Earth, back before he took this assignment. Maintenance work was maintenance work, whether you were fixing air filters in Seoul or on an alien space station. The new regulator clicked into place. Hyunwoo ran a quick diagnostic on his tablet. Green lights across the board. Good. He started packing up his tools. That was when he realized he needed to test the airflow. The testing panel was on the other side of the platform. Right next to the scanner. Hyunwoo hesitated. The platform was technically off limits during the ceremony, but the recess was still going on, and he could see technicians and officials walking around up there. Nobody would care about one more person doing their job. He climbed the steps to the platform, tablet in hand. The scanner loomed even larger up close. The crystal surface was smooth and warm like living glass. Hyunwoo could see his reflection in it, distorted and strange. He found the airflow panel and opened his testing app. The readings looked good. He made a few adjustments, then closed the panel. Job done. Time to get out of here before the ceremony resumed. Hyunwoo turned to leave. He had taken exactly 3 steps when the world exploded into light. The scanner erupted like a star-going supernova. Brilliant white light filled the entire hall, so bright that Hyunwoo had to close his eyes. He heard screams and shouts in a dozen languages. Something was humming, getting louder and louder until it felt like the sound was coming from inside his skull. Then the light faded enough for him to open his eyes. The scanner's surface was covered in symbols, thousands of them, spinning and flowing like water. The crystal had turned from blue to pure gold, and at the center of it all, projected 10 feet tall above the obelisk, were 2 words in every language at once. Uncrowned King. Hyunwoo stood frozen, wrench still in his hand. Every eye in the hall was on him. Weapons were being drawn. People were shouting. The 4-armed alien from before was speaking rapidly into his microphone, but Hyunwoo could not understand the words over the ringing in his ears. Princess Da-eun was staring at him with an expression he could not read. Shock, anger, disbelief? The scanner pulsed one more time. Then a voice spoke directly into Hyunwoo's mind, and he knew somehow that everyone else in the hall was hearing it too. The 101st selection is complete. The uncrowned king has been identified. The consortium has its sovereign. Hyunwoo looked down at the wrench in his hand, then at the thousands of aliens and humans staring at him, then at the scanner declaring him the next ruler of the galaxy. I just wanted to fix the air filter, he said to nobody in particular. Then the soldiers arrived and everything went to hell. The interrogation room was cold and smelled like metal. Hyunwoo sat in a chair that was designed for someone with a completely different body shape. His left leg kept falling asleep. He had been here for 6 hours. Across the table sat 3 members of the High Council. The 4-armed alien was named Voltheris, and he seemed to be in charge. Next to him was something that looked like a floating jellyfish made of light. The third was a reptilian creature whose scales changed color when it spoke. They had been asking him the same questions over and over. Where was he born? Who were his parents? What was his education? Did he have any genetic modifications? Any secret training? Any connection to the ancient royal bloodlines? Hyunwoo answered honestly every time. He was born in Busan. His parents owned a small restaurant near Haeundae Beach. He went to a normal public school, then studied mechanical engineering at university. No genetic mods except the standard health package everyone got. No secret training unless you counted the 3 months of taekwondo he took when he was 12. No royal blood at all. His family had been fishermen and shopkeepers as far back as anyone could remember. This is impossible, the jellyfish alien said through Hyunwoo's translator. Its voice sounded like wind chimes. The scanner has never chosen a commoner. Never in 10,000 years. Maybe it made a mistake, Hyunwoo offered. He had suggested this about 20 times already. The scanner does not make mistakes, Voltheris said. His voice was deep and tired. That is the entire point. It was built by the first civilization using technology we still do not understand. It has selected 100 leaders before you. Each one ruled wisely and well. It does not malfunction. Then maybe I walked past it at the wrong time, Hyunwoo said. Maybe it detected someone else in the crowd and got confused about who was closest. The reptilian alien hissed. Its scales flashed angry red. Do you think we are idiots? The scanner's readings are precise to the molecular level. It identified you specifically. Your genetic signature, your neural pattern, everything. Hyunwoo rubbed his face. He was so tired. Look, I don't know what you want me to say. I'm nobody. I fix air filters and recycling units. I'm not special. Voltheris studied him for a long moment. Then he stood up. Come with me. They walked through corridors filled with nervous officials. Everyone stared at Hyunwoo as he passed. Some looked curious. Others looked hostile. He heard the word human whispered with contempt more than once. Voltheris led him to a laboratory filled with holographic displays. Technicians worked frantically at stations covered in alien technology. At the center of the room was a holographic projection of the scanner, rotating slowly and covered in data that Hyunwoo could not read. "We have been analyzing the scanner's readings," Voltharis said, "trying to understand what it saw in you, and we found something unprecedented." A technician pressed some buttons. The holographic data changed, zooming in on what looked like neural pathways. Hyunwoo recognized the basic shape of a human brain, but it was surrounded by notes and symbols in alien languages. "The scanner did not measure your bloodline," Voltharis said quietly. "It measured something else. Your memories, your choices, your actions throughout your entire life." The hologram changed again. Now it was showing images. Hyunwoo gasped. They were his memories. He saw himself at age 15, carrying his friend Minho down a mountain trail. Minho had twisted his ankle badly, and they were 3 miles from the parking lot. Hyunwoo had carried him the entire way, even though his back was screaming by the end. Another memory. Working at the repair shop during university, his co-worker Jiho had gotten sick, and Hyunwoo had taken his shifts for 2 weeks straight so Jiho would not lose his job. Hyunwoo had failed an exam because he was too tired to study, but Jiho kept his job. Another memory. The evacuation drill on the transport ship that brought him to Velnus Prime. Everyone was rushing to the escape pods. Hyunwoo had seen an elderly Kaysher woman struggling with her oxygen tank. He had stopped to help her, even though it meant he was last in line for the pods. If there had been a real emergency, he might have died. But he could not leave her behind. More memories flashed by. Small moments. Times when Hyunwoo had chosen to help someone even when it cost him something. Times when he had put others first without thinking about it. Times when he had seen someone struggling and could not walk away. The scanner was not looking for nobility of blood, Voltharis said. His voice held something like wonder. It was looking for nobility of spirit, for someone who instinctively protects, who sacrifices without being asked, who sees others as mattering more than himself. Hyunwoo stared at the memories. Everyone does stuff like that. It's just being a decent person. No, Voltharis said firmly. Not everyone. Most people help others when it is convenient or when they will be rewarded. You help even when it hurts you. Even when nobody is watching. The scanner found this pattern repeated thousands of times throughout your life. You cannot help yourself. You see someone in need and you act. The technician spoke up. We compared his neural patterns to the previous 100 sovereigns. The match is 98%. They all shared this same instinct, this same inability to walk away from suffering. Hyunwoo felt dizzy. This could not be real. He was just a guy who fixed things and tried not to be a jerk. That could not qualify him to rule a galaxy. Before he could say anything, alarms started blaring. Red lights flashed throughout the lab. A holographic screen appeared in the air, showing the Grand Convocation Hall. It was full of angry people. Arguments were breaking out. Some groups were walking out. Others were shouting and pointing weapons. It's happening, one of the technicians said. The factions are fracturing. Voltharis moved to the screen, his face grim. Without a confirmed sovereign, the consortium has no binding authority. The old rivalries are resurfacing. Species that have been peaceful for centuries are remembering ancient grudges. Hyunwoo watched the chaos on the screen. What happens if they don't accept me? Civil war, Voltharis said simply. The consortium will tear itself apart. Billions will die. The door burst open. Princess Dayun strode in, still wearing her ceremonial robes. Her eyes were hard. I challenge the scanner's reading. I invoke the trials of ascendance. Voltharis closed his eyes. Princess, please. The trials have not been invoked in 3,000 years. Then it's time to revive them, Daun said. Her gaze locked on Hyunwoo. If the scanner truly chose correctly, then this maintenance worker should be able to prove himself. 3 trials. 3 tests of worthiness. If he passes, I will accept the result. If he fails, the scanner's reading is void and we start over. And if I refuse? Hyunwoo asked. Dayun's expression did not change. Then the consortium fractures tonight. War begins tomorrow. Millions die by next week. Hyunwoo thought about the memories the scanner had shown. All those times he had helped people. All those choices to not walk away. He looked at the screen showing the fighting in the hall. People were scared and angry. The situation was getting worse every minute. He could walk away. Say this was not his problem. Go back to Earth and let the galaxy sort out its own mess, but if he did that, people would die. A lot of people. Voltharis was watching him carefully. The old alien already knew what Hyunwoo would say. The scanner had known too. Okay, Hyunwoo said. I'll do the trials. Da-un smiled, but there was no warmth in it. Good, the first trial begins at dawn. I suggest you get some rest. You're going to need it, she turned and left. Hyunwoo watched her go, then looked at Voltharis. What are these trials exactly? Tests, Voltharis said, of wisdom, strength, and heart. They were designed by the first civilization to prove worthiness beyond any doubt. They are also extremely dangerous. Candidates have died attempting them. Great, Hyunwoo muttered. Just great. Voltharis put one of his 4 hands on Hyunwoo's shoulder. The scanner chose you for a reason. Trust that. Hyunwoo nodded, but inside he was terrified. Tomorrow he would have to prove he deserved to rule a galaxy, and he still had no idea how to do that. He just hoped fixing air filters was somehow relevant to the trials, because that was the only skill he was confident about. The Obsidian Archive looked like someone had built a library the size of a moon, and then forgotten about it for 1,000,000 years. Black crystal structures stretched in every direction, containing the collected knowledge of civilizations that no longer existed. Hyunwoo stood at the entrance with the other 3 candidates, trying not to think about how completely out of his depth he was. Princess Da-un looked perfectly calm. Prince Taemin, a tall Kaisher with silver scales, was reviewing data on a holographic screen. Lord Jiwan from the Talvex Imperium had brought an entire team of advisors who were whispering strategies to him. Hyunwoo had a notebook and a pencil. That was it. Voltharis floated before them in an observation sphere. His voice echoed through their translators. The trial of wisdom will test your ability to solve the impossible. You will each be presented with the paradox of the dying sun. This theoretical problem has stumped scholars for 2,000 years. You have 12 hours. Begin. They were separated into individual chambers. Hyunwoo's chamber was a circular room with walls covered in screens. As soon as he stepped inside, the screens lit up with equations and diagrams. Text scrolled past in dozens of languages. His translator worked overtime, converting everything to Korean. The problem was complicated. Something about a star that was dying and taking its entire solar system with it. The civilization living there had tried everything to save themselves, but nothing worked. The question was what they did wrong. What solution had they missed? Hyunwoo read through the information for 2 hours. He understood maybe a quarter of it. The math was way beyond his engineering degree. He tried working through some of the equations but got lost almost immediately. He looked at the time. 10 hours left. The other candidates were probably flying through this. They had been trained for problems like this their entire lives. Dayun had mentioned studying at the Imperial Academy. Taemin had 3 advanced degrees. Jiwan had access to quantum computers that could process billions of calculations per second. Hyunwoo had a headache and a growing sense of panic. He made himself stop and breathe. Okay, he could not solve this with math. He was not smart enough, but maybe he was looking at it wrong. Maybe this was not about finding the right answer. Maybe it was about something else. He read through the problem again. This time he focused on the civilization itself. What had they tried? They had attempted to reignite their sun using antimatter. They had tried moving their planet to a different orbit. They had even tried building a shield to protect themselves from radiation. All advanced solutions, all requiring incredible technology and resources. All failures. Hyunwoo stared at the screens. Something was bothering him. Something about the way the problem was worded. He pulled out his notebook and started writing down observations. The civilization had extraordinary technology. They could manipulate antimatter. They could move planets. But their sun was dying because of a natural process that could not be stopped. No matter what they tried, the laws of physics said the sun would die. Wait. Hyunwoo sat up straight. What if that was the point? He started reading more carefully. The problem kept asking what solution the civilization had missed. But what if there was no solution? What if the sun was always going to die? And the real question was what they should have done instead. The answer was not about saving the sun. It was about accepting that some things cannot be fixed. Hyunwoo walked to the main screen and spoke out loud. The civilization did nothing wrong. The problem is unsolvable. Their sun was dying because that's what stars do. They should have evacuated and found a new home instead of wasting resources trying to stop the inevitable. The screens went blank. For a long moment, nothing happened. Hyunwoo wondered if he had just failed spectacularly. Then the walls glowed green. Voltharis's voice came through. Candidate Hyunwoo has solved the paradox of the dying sun. Time elapsed, 4 hours, 17 minutes. Hyunwoo blinked. Wait, really? The paradox was never about finding a solution. It was about recognizing that some problems have no solution. True wisdom is knowing when to let go instead of fighting uselessly. The civilization in the paradox was fictional. The extinct species that created this test wanted to see if candidates would waste their time trying to solve the unsolvable, or if they would have the humility to accept limits. Hyunwoo felt relief wash over him. He had passed. He had actually passed. The other candidates took the full 12 hours. Daeun came close to the answer but kept trying to find a mathematical solution. Taemin created an elegant but useless theory about stellar mechanics. Jiwon's computers burned out trying to calculate the impossible. When they all gathered again, Da-un looked at Hyunwoo with something like grudging respect. How did you see it? I didn't try to be clever, Hyunwoo said. I just asked what made sense. The second trial was worse. They were dropped onto a hostile planet called the Abyssal Arena. The goal was simple: survive for 7 days and retrieve an artifact from the planet's core. The place was a nightmare. The atmosphere was barely breathable. The temperature swung from freezing at night to boiling during the day, and the wildlife was actively trying to kill them. Hyunwoo spent the first night huddled in a cave, listening to something with too many legs clicking around outside. He had basic survival gear but no weapons, no advanced technology, just a water purifier, a thermal blanket, and a knife. The other candidates were better equipped. Through his communicator, Hyunwoo could hear them making progress. Daeun had shield technology. Taemin had a powered exosuit. Jiwon had drones mapping safe routes. Hyunwoo had his wits and a lot of fear. On the second day, he started paying attention to the predators instead of just hiding from them. They were big, 6-legged things with armored hides. They hunted in patterns. They marked territory. And they were protecting something. Hyunwoo followed one from a safe distance. It led him to a nesting ground hidden in a canyon. Dozens of the creatures were there, guarding eggs buried in the warm sand. He understood then. The predators were not evil. They were parents. They attacked because the candidates were walking through their territory during breeding season. Hyunwoo started mapping the nest locations and avoiding them. Without the constant attacks, travel became easier. He made his way toward the core entrance, taking the long route around the nesting grounds. On the 7th day, he reached the core. It was a massive cavern lit by glowing crystals. At the center lay one of the armored predators. It was bigger than the others and badly injured. A chunk of its armor was cracked, bleeding something that looked like mercury. Next to the creature was the artifact. A small crystal pyramid sitting on a pedestal. Hyunwoo could just take it and leave. The creature was too hurt to stop him. That was probably what the other candidates had done, but he could not do it. He approached slowly, hands visible. The creature watched him with eyes like golden mirrors. It was ready to attack even though it was dying. Hey, Hyunwoo said softly, I'm not going to hurt you. He opened his pack and pulled out his medical kit. It was designed for humans, but maybe some of it would work. He had antiseptic and synthetic skin. It was worth trying. The creature did not attack as he cleaned the wound. It was too tired, too hurt. Hyunwoo worked carefully, applying the synthetic skin over the crack in its armor. He used his entire supply of medical gel, squeezing it into the wound. When he finished, the creature looked at him for a long moment. Then it stood up, moving more easily. It walked to the pedestal and pushed it with its head. The pedestal tipped over. Hidden underneath was another artifact. A different crystal pyramid glowing with soft blue light. The creature picked up the fake artifact from the top and crushed it in its jaws. Then it pushed the real one toward Hyunwoo. Thank you, Hyunwoo whispered. When he emerged from the core, the other candidates were waiting with Voltharis. They looked tired and frustrated. Daeun had a fake artifact. So did Taemin. Jiwon had nothing. His drones had been destroyed by the creatures. Hyunwoo held up the blue crystal. Voltharis's eyes widened. How? Daeun demanded. I helped instead of taking, Hyunwoo said simply. Voltharis smiled. The trial of strength was never about physical power. It was about strength of character. The ability to show mercy when you could take by force. Candidate Hyunwoo, you have passed the second trial. That night, as they were preparing for transport to the final trial, Daeun approached Hyunwoo. I underestimated you. I'm starting to see why the scanner chose you. I'm still figuring it out myself, Hyunwoo admitted. The last trial is the hardest, she warned. The trial of heart. People have died from it. Not from physical injury, but from psychological damage. Be careful, Hyunwoo nodded. 2 trials down, 1 to go. He had no idea what the trial of heart would involve, but he suspected it was going to hurt in ways the other trials had not. The empathy engine looked like a throne made of nightmares. Black metal twisted into shapes that hurt to look at. Neural cables hung like vines, their ends sparking with purple energy. Hyunwoo sat in the observation room, watching technicians prepare the device, and tried not to throw up from fear. Voltaris stood beside him. The old alien had been quiet since they arrived. Finally, he spoke. You can still refuse this trial. You have proven yourself in wisdom and strength. Many would consider that enough. What happens if I refuse? Hyunwoo asked. Princess Da-Yun would be named sovereign by default. She scored second in both previous trials. The consortium would accept her rather than risk civil war. Hyunwoo watched Da-Yun through the glass. She stood with perfect posture, but he could see tension in her shoulders. She was scared too. Why did she challenge me in the first place? Pride, Voltaris said. She has trained her entire life to rule. Her family has prepared her for this since birth. Then the scanner chose a maintenance worker instead. That rejection hurt more than she will admit. I didn't ask for this. No, but the scanner saw something in you that it did not see in her. The question is whether you can prove it one more time. The lead technician signaled that they were ready. Hyunwoo stood up. His legs felt weak. Tell me exactly what happens in there. Voltaris's voice was gentle. The empathy engine connects your mind to the collective suffering of 1 billion random citizens of the consortium. You will feel their pain, their fear, their grief, their desperation. All of it simultaneously. For how long? Most candidates disconnect after a few minutes. Lasting 1 hour is considered passing. The record is 3 hours, set by Sovereign Kalith 4,000 years ago. She ruled for a century and is still remembered as one of the greatest leaders in consortium history. Hyunwoo did some math in his head. 3 hours was the record. He needed 1 hour to pass. He could do 1 hour. People endured worse things. Okay, let's get this over with. They led him to the chair. The neural cables attached to his temples, his wrists, his spine. The technician looked nervous. The safety cutoff is set for severe neural damage. If we detect permanent harm beginning, we will forcibly disconnect you. Do you understand? Yes. Once we start, you can disconnect yourself at any time by saying the word release 3 times. Do you understand? Yes, the technician hesitated. Sir, I have monitored 47 trials in my career. I have never seen anyone last more than 90 minutes. Please do not feel ashamed if you need to disconnect quickly. Hyunwoo nodded. He appreciated the kindness. Da-Yun stepped into the chamber. She looked at him for a long moment. Whatever happens, you fought well. Then she left and Hyunwoo was alone with the machine. The technician's voice came through speakers. Beginning neural connection in 3, 2, 1, the pain hit like a tsunami. A child was crying for her mother. The mother was dead. The child did not understand why she was not coming back. An old man sat in an empty house. His family had forgotten him. He spent every day waiting for a visit that would never come. A soldier held his dying friend. There was so much blood. The friend was afraid. The soldier was lying, saying everything would be okay. A woman discovered her partner was gone. Not dead, just gone. Left without a word. She would spend years wondering what she did wrong. This was just the first second. The pain multiplied. Thousands of voices, millions, all crying out at once. Hyunwoo tried to scream, but his voice was lost in the noise. Loneliness. So many people were lonely, isolated in crowds, surrounded by others but feeling completely alone. Hunger. Children with distended bellies. Parents choosing which child to feed. Disease. Bodies failing. Minds deteriorating. People losing themselves piece by piece. Grief. Fresh wounds and old scars. People mourning losses from decades ago. The pain never fully fading. Fear. Terror of violence. Fear of losing everything. Anxiety that ate away at joy until nothing was left. Hyunwoo could not think. Could not breathe. The suffering was infinite. It was everyone and everywhere. It was too much. Disconnect. He needed to disconnect. 1 hour. He could not last 1 more second. Release, he tried to say. But the word would not come. Because disconnecting meant leaving them behind. All these people suffering. If he left, did their pain stop? No, it continued. Whether he witnessed it or not, they still hurt. Time became meaningless. Minutes or hours. He could not tell. The suffering flowed through him like acid in his veins. A mother burying her son, a man losing his farm, a child sold into servitude, a refugee drowning in sight of shore. Every story was worse than the last. Every pain was unique and terrible. Hyunwoo felt his mind beginning to fracture. This was how people died from the trial. Not physically, mentally. The human brain was not designed for this much empathy. It was breaking him. He should disconnect. He needed to disconnect. This was not sustainable. He was going to suffer permanent damage, but he could not leave them. In the observation room, the technicians were panicking. He's been connected for 4 hours. Neural stress is approaching critical levels. We need to pull him out. Voltharis watched the monitors. Hyunwoo's face was wet with tears. His body was rigid with pain. The old alien had seen many candidates attempt this trial. None had looked like this. Most disconnected with relief. Some with shame. This human looked like he was dying, but he would not let go. Why isn't he disconnecting? Dayun whispered. She had been watching the entire time, her expression growing more disturbed with each passing hour. Because he cannot abandon them, Voltharis said quietly. Even though they are strangers, even though staying is killing him, he cannot walk away from suffering. It is not in his nature. That's insane. That is why the scanner chose him. At hour 5, the machine started to malfunction. Sparks flew from connections. Warning lights flashed. The system was never designed for someone to maintain connection this long. We're losing containment, the lead technician shouted. If we don't pull him out now, the feedback could fry his entire nervous system. Voltharis made the decision. Activate emergency disconnect. The neural cables released. Hyunwoo fell forward, gasping. For a moment, he did not seem to know where he was. Then he looked up at the observation window and spoke. His voice was raw and broken. Did their suffering end? Nobody answered. Did it end? Hyunwoo repeated, louder now. If I disconnected, does that mean they stopped hurting? Voltharis pressed the intercom. No, their pain continues. Hyunwoo started crying. Not from relief that the trial was over, but from grief that he could not help them. That he had to leave them behind. The chamber door opened. Technicians rushed in to check him. Dayun stood in the doorway, staring at him with an expression of shock. Voltharis's voice echoed through the facility. The trial of heart is complete. Candidate Hyunwoo has not merely passed. He has redefined what we believed possible. Later, in the medical bay, Hyunwoo lay in a recovery bed. The doctors said he would be fine physically. Mentally, they were not sure. He had experienced more collective suffering than any candidate in recorded history. That left scars. Dayun entered the room. She had removed her ceremonial robes. She looked tired and very young. She sat in the chair beside his bed. I wanted to hate you, she said. I trained my entire life for this. My family sacrificed everything to prepare me. Then you walked past the scanner by accident and took it all away. Hyunwoo said nothing. He was too exhausted. But I watched you in that machine. I saw your face. You were in agony, and you refused to leave because you thought leaving meant abandoning them. That is either the stupidest thing I've ever seen or the most heroic. I still can't decide which, stupid, Hyunwoo croaked. Definitely stupid, Dayun smiled sadly. Maybe, but it's also what a true leader looks like. Someone who carries the suffering of others even when it breaks them. I could never do that. I would have disconnected after an hour and felt proud of myself for lasting that long. She stood up. The coronation is in 3 days. I will stand beside you and support your rule. Not because I have to, because you've earned it, she left. Hyunwoo closed his eyes. He could still feel echoes of the pain from the empathy engine. All those people suffering. He was going to be crowned sovereign, given power over billions. Maybe if he had that power, he could actually help them, reduce their suffering. That thought was the only thing that made the trials worth it. 3 days until coronation. 3 days to prepare for the biggest responsibility anyone could have. Hyunwoo hoped he was ready. He suspected he was not, but he would try anyway, because that was what the scanner had seen in him. The inability to give up, even when giving up, made sense. For better or worse, the galaxy was going to have a maintenance worker as its sovereign. He just hoped he could fix what was broken. The alarms woke Hyunwoo from the first decent sleep he had gotten in a week. Red lights flashed in his quarters. His communicator was screaming with emergency broadcasts in a dozen languages. He grabbed it and listened, his heart sinking with each word. The Vrelthi swarm had attacked. They hit 50 worlds simultaneously. The Vrelthi were a hive mind species that the consortium had exiled beyond the galactic rim 3,000 years ago for crimes nobody talked about. Apparently, they had been waiting for a moment of weakness. The power vacuum during the trials had given them exactly that. Hyunwoo ran to the command center. It was chaos. Holographic displays showed burning worlds. Casualty reports scrolled too fast to read. Military commanders were shouting orders to fleets that were scattered and unprepared. Voltheris appeared beside him. The coronation was supposed to be tomorrow. The ceremony takes 7 days of ritual and preparation. We do not have 7 days. Then skip the ceremony, Hyunwoo said. Just crown me now. It does not work that way. The crown must be blessed by the priesthood. The oaths must be spoken before the assembly. Without the full ceremony, your authority is not legitimate. The military will not follow orders from someone who is not properly crowned. Hyunwoo stared at the displays. Billions of people were in danger. They needed someone to coordinate the defense. But he could not do that without authority, and he could not get authority without waiting a week. A week that would cost countless lives. He made a decision. Then I lead without authority. I'm the uncrowned king. If people want to follow me, they follow me. If they don't, that's their choice. Voltheris looked doubtful. The military answers to legitimate sovereigns only. Then I'll talk to the people who are not military. Hyunwoo opened a communication channel. He had no idea if anyone would listen. This is Hyunwoo. The scanner chose me, but I'm not crowned yet. I don't have official authority. I'm just a guy who fixes things. But right now the consortium is broken and people are dying while we wait for ceremonies. He pulled up maps of the attacked worlds. I need help. Engineers, soldiers, pilots, anyone who can fight or rescue or repair. I can't order you to help. I can only ask, please, people are dying. The channel was silent for a long moment. Then a voice came through. This is Captain Somin of the defense frigate Hanyul Light. I don't care about crowns. You passed the trials. That's good enough for me. What are your orders? Another voice. Engineer Corp Station 7, we're with you. More voices joined. Dozens, then hundreds. Ships began reporting in. Ground forces. Support crews. They were not following orders from a legitimate sovereign. They were choosing to follow someone they believed in. Da-Yoon appeared on his screen. She was in full combat armor. Behind her, Hyunwoo could see an entire fleet. The Hanyul sovereignty pledges its full military support. Tell us where you need us. Prince Taemin's face appeared on another screen. The Kesher Armada is at your command. We move on your word. Even Lord Jiwan, who had competed against him, showed up. The Talvex Imperium stands ready. Point us at the enemy. Hyunwoo felt something twist in his chest. These people were trusting him. Not because they had to. Because they wanted to. He could not let them down. He studied the attack patterns. The Vrelthi were hitting key resource worlds and defensive outposts. Their strategy was clear. Isolate the core worlds, cut off supply lines, then strike at the heart of the consortium. It was a good strategy. It would work if Hyunwoo tried to defend everything. So he would not defend everything. He would do something the Vrelthi would not expect. All ships, new orders. Abandon the outposts. Fall back to defensive clusters around civilian populations. Forget the military targets. We protect the people first, several commanders protested. That surrenders strategic positions. We'll lose control of entire sectors. Good, Hyunwoo said. Let them take the outposts. Outposts can be rebuilt. People can't. Every ship focuses on evacuation and defense of civilians. Make the Vrelthi chase us if they want to fight. He turned to the engineering corps. I need you to do something crazy. Take every civilian ship you can find. Cargo haulers, pleasure yachts, anything that flies. Strip out the weapons and maximize cargo space. We're going to evacuate 10 billion people in the next 72 hours. That's impossible, someone said. Yeah, probably. Do it anyway. The orders went out. Hyunwoo coordinated from the command center, running on coffee and adrenaline. He had no formal training for this, but he understood systems, how things connected, how to prioritize, fix the most critical problems first, then work down the list. He made decisions that horrified the military commanders. He pulled entire fleets away from strategic positions to protect refugee ships. He ordered warships to be converted into transports. He ignored military targets and focused entirely on getting people to safety. The Vrelti kept attacking. But they were confused. Their strategy relied on the consortium defending its infrastructure. Instead, Hyunwoo was letting them have it. The hive mind was efficient, but it was not creative. It kept trying to bait the consortium into defending military outposts. Hyunwoo kept ignoring the bait. On the third day, the Vrelti changed tactics. They sent their entire fleet toward Velnus Prime, the capital world. If they destroyed it, the consortium would collapse. Hyunwoo had been waiting for this. He had pulled back every available ship, consolidated the defense, and prepared a trap. When the Vrelti arrived, they found the entire consortium fleet waiting for them. The battle was brutal. Hyunwoo watched from the command ship, coordinating defensive patterns. He was not a military strategist, but he understood something about the Vrelti that the career officers did not. They were a hive mind. They were efficient and coordinated. They were also predictable. Hyunwoo started giving chaotic orders, random attack patterns, unpredictable movements. He had ships break formation, retreat when they should advance, attack from unexpected angles. It looked like insanity, but it worked. The Vrelti could not adapt quickly enough to chaos. Then Lord Jiwon did something unexpected. His flagship broke from the formation and rammed directly into the Vrelti mothership. The explosion was massive. It took out a third of the Vrelti fleet and destroyed Jiwon's ship completely. Hyunwoo stared at the empty space where the ship had been. Jiwon had sacrificed himself. A man who had competed against Hyunwoo, who had even tried to sabotage him during the trials. In the end, he had given his life to protect the consortium. All ships push forward, Hyunwoo ordered. His voice was rough with emotion. Don't let his sacrifice be for nothing. The fleet surged forward. The Vrelti, already disorganized from the chaos tactics and reeling from the loss of their mothership, began to retreat. The consortium chased them to the edge of the system, then let them go. They did not have the resources for a prolonged hunt. When the battle ended, Hyunwoo collapsed in his chair. They had won. The cost was high. Thousands of ships destroyed, tens of thousands dead. But billions had been saved. The consortium still stood. Da-Yun appeared on his screen. She looked exhausted and had a burn scar on her cheek. We did it. You did it. Jiwon did it, Hyunwoo said quietly. And everyone else who fought. You coordinated it. You made the impossible work. She smiled tiredly. Time to make it official. The High Council has waived the 7-day ceremony. They'll crown you tonight. The coronation was nothing like the grand event that had been planned. It was held in a damaged hall, with scorched walls and emergency lighting. Half the attendees were in combat armor. The other half were covered in ash from rescue operations. Hyunwoo stood before the scanner one last time. Voltharis placed the crown on his head. It was heavy, not physically but in what it represented. The scanner pulsed. Words appeared on its surface one final time. You were never the first choice. You were the right choice. Then it went dark. Its purpose fulfilled. Hyunwoo looked out at the assembled crowd. Humans and aliens, soldiers and civilians, people who had fought together and bled together. I'm not a traditional king. I don't know the right protocols or ceremonies. I'm just someone who fixes things. And the consortium is broken right now. So that's what we're going to do together. Fix things. The crowd was silent for a moment. Then someone started clapping. Then everyone was clapping. Not the polite applause of formal ceremonies. Real noise. Real emotion. Da-Yun stepped forward and knelt. Not because she had to. Because she chose to. One by one the others followed. Acknowledging him not as a sovereign chosen by ancient technology, but as a leader who had earned their respect. Months later, the consortium was recovering. The damage from the Vrelti attack was being repaired. New systems were being implemented. Changes that Hyunwoo insisted on. More resources for civilians. Better emergency response protocols. Regular meetings where anyone could bring concerns directly to the sovereign. Hyunwoo still wore his gray maintenance jumpsuit under his royal robes. He still insisted on learning the names of the cleaning staff. When he walked through the halls of power, he would stop to fix things he noticed were broken. A squeaky door here, a flickering light there. People had been confused at first. Then they started to understand. Their sovereign was not pretending to be one of them. He genuinely was one of them. He just happened to also be the king. One day, Hyunwoo returned to the Grand Convocation Hall.